Let me explain you the difference between conventional and the agile Scrum management approach with this example. In this lecture, you are going to understand what is Scrum and how you can use it in both the IT and non-IT sectors. This is the introductory video of Scrum. So let's get started. Suppose a customer approaches you with a request. He wants a new software for his company having some set of features, say XX features for now. If you are following a conventional plan of project management, you will see that when the team receives a request from the customer, they make a plan initially and design and develop the software according to the plan. Then they deliver the requested software to the customer after testing. But wait a minute, what if the customer is not satisfied? What if the market needs has changed by the time you develop the software? What if the customer needs more features, or what if the customer wants to replace the features to the software your team just built for the customers? If you are following this conventional pathway of software development for IT related sectors or similar process of project management for non-IT sectors, there is nothing that you can do now. The software is already built, the money allocated for the project is already spent, and you are going to lose a loyal customer. So isn't there any approach that you can practice to meet the customer's expectation? Don't worry, there is Scrum for you. Scrum is an agile project management tool that helps you to deliver the product or service according to the expectations of the customer. In Scrum, unlike the conventional project management approaches, we do not prepare a chunk of final work. In this case, you wouldn't plan how to build the final software and walk throughout the project according to that plan, but you perform small chunks of work within the small time frame called sprint. You revise and review those sprints and add more features to get the whole work done. Still confused? No problem. You will understand exactly what I am trying to explain after some minutes. But before that, is Scrum process that you are learning now just used for the software development projects? The answer is no. When I was in university, I would be writing many books at a short period of time, and each book would be unique and a descriptive book of different subjects. But back in those days, I didn't know about Scrum, but I used it for productivity unknowingly. My friends used to ask me how I could do that without feeling lazy and how I could write so many books so fast. I could write a mega new technical book every 15 to 1 month covering different features and technical aspects, which was challenging. I want to share that secret with you. There's no magic here. It's all about management. You can even say that's Gunjan's agile method, although that sounds a little stupid. What I did was, I used to divide my writing works to a small iteration or a small fraction. Generally, that would be anywhere between 2 to 4 days to a week. Let's suppose I take a 1 week here. In the first week, I would go straight to designing the cover. I would write the introduction, a single descriptive article with conclusion and the author page. That's not a too much thing to do, right? Let's suppose I call it a sprint 1. Now, if I leave my plan for the book, let's suppose at this stage, I would still be able to make it like a brochure article. By week 2 or sprint 2, let's suppose, I would add more content. I would add table of contents, and there would be at least one article on each heading of the table of contents. If I leave at this stage, I would still be able to use it as a free book. I would put it freely on the website, and that would generate a traffic for me. On week 3, I would further add some lessons, and if I left the work at this point, I would use this as a cheap price book. Some penny earned is better than not earning anything, right? On week 4, I would add case studies and all those features that would improve my readers' engagement with the book. And if I leave at this point, I would be able to publish a moderately priced book. I would finalize the book by week 5 or sprint 5, and if I leave at this point, I would be able to use it as a premium price book. So you can see a pattern here. After each sprint, which could be 4 days to 30 days, and in my case, a weekly interval of time, I am able to generate something valuable for the customers, or I am able to generate a shippable product. By the time I complete the book in 5 weeks or 5 sprints, I would have a brochure, a free book to distribute, a cheap price book, a moderate size book, and a premium price book. The concept of a sprint is same in developing a software. You would come with something useful in each sprint, add more features on the product release at each sprint, and get final product ready. That's what sprint is, and the whole process is called Scrum. Although the whole Scrum process is much broader than what I just explained, but this is the basic idea. Thanks to Scrum methodology that I became an avid reader and a rapid writer. So let's revise the concept of sprint again. A sprint is a synonym of iteration. The only difference is we don't normally run a sprint for more than 30 calendar days. In this case, we run it for 7 days. Now let's head on to explaining our software development project with the help of Scrum. Let's redo the same old story with the Scrum for the software development. A customer approaches you to design a software for him with some XX set of features. He approaches your team. There are various team members in the Scrum, such as there is a product owner whose job is to identify the customers and stakeholders' priority for the project and communicate it with the team. There could be different team members. They could be either the software developers or the testers. And there is a Scrum Master. He is like a project manager. He facilitates the entire project. So there are developers, testers, project owner, and a Scrum Master. So after the customer places an order, the sprint starts with the sprint planning meeting. Sprint planning meeting pulls the top priority necessities from the product backlog. And this is done by product owner. So what is product backlog? Product backlogs are also called user stories. They are the requirements addressed by the customers or endorsed by the product owners. All the top priority necessities from the product backlog is pulled in the sprint planning meeting. So if there are a list of requirements placed by the customer, the product owner will pull the items from the product backlog. From the lot of requirements, only those requirements that could be beneficial from the perspective of the end users are pulled by the product owner. The product owner then asks the team to prioritize the work and make the schedule according to the requirements. The team then discusses in the sprint planning which tasks they can select from the list and design a very basic software at the first sprint. The planning log for the particular sprint, which is the time frame or iteration, is called sprint backlog. Each day, the team gathers and conducts an standing meeting called daily Scrum. A daily Scrum is a meeting which takes place at each day, generally for 15 minutes, to discuss about what is going on and what to do today. In daily Scrum, we generally talk about what's the progress, what worked and what didn't work, and what's the hindrance or impediment. These discussions helps us to identify the bottlenecks in the project, and we try to find out the solutions too. We can use a lean or agile tool called Kanban while working in the Scrum project. A Kanban board displays the progress of the project work as the project progresses. Any work selected would go successively to do, in process, testing, and in done phase as the work progresses. Like earlier process which I adopted for writing the book, on the first sprint, we do just the basic activities used for meeting the basic customer's expectations. Note that at the end of first sprint only, we get the basic working software. We may perform different activities in the first sprint like basic software design and testing and basic functions such as coding and addition of the database, etc. At the end of each sprint, we create a potentially shippable product called increment. This should be basic and functional. We add more features according to the customers or stakeholders' requirement on each increment. The difference between Agile Scrum and conventional project management approach or software development approach is we discuss with the stakeholders or customers what is to be changed or refined after each Scrum so that we can design the product on the perspective of the end user. Here, the advantage is the product keeps on refining with the discussion with the stakeholders and the owners. We continuously add more work to the basic product obtained after each Scrum, which is also called increment, and get the final product at the end of the Scrum timeline. We can know how the project is performing with the help of various tools like burn up and burn down chart, which helps us to find out the progression of the project. At the end, we conduct an inspect and adopt meeting called sprint retrospective, where we discuss all about what we learn in the project and how we can organize the project in a better way in the future. This is all about Scrum that I have put in a summarized form in this lecture. We will learn in more detail about the process, tools, and different other approaches of Scrum later. I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you for being with me.